Okay, good evening. My name is Bob Connors. At 6 p.m., I'd like to call the March 5th meeting of the Newbury Conservation Commission to order. Sean, can you read the remote open meeting law preamble and take a roll call vote of members present?
Good meeting. So my name is Sean Young. It's the March 5th open meeting, and I'm the conservation agent for the town of Newbury. Please let me confirm that all members are present. Conservation Commission members, when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. Bob Connors.
Yes.
Brad Duffin.
He's muted.
Yep.
We did get the visual thumbs up from Brad.
Okay. Diane O'Brien.
Yeah.
Mary Rimmer.
Yes, and welcome aboard, Sean.
Nice to meet you. Mike Bryan. Or Mick Bryan, sorry.
Brown, yep, I'm here.
TJ Conti.
I don't see TJ yet, but
Sorry if I'm butchering names.
no, you're doing great. And I have Woody Knight.
And Woody Knight.
Yes, thank you, Sean.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. This open meeting of the Town of Newbury Conservation Commission is beginning. Conducted remotely in accordance with Governor Baker's executive order dated March 12, 2020, the act relative to extending certain COVID measures adopted during the state of emergency, which has been extended until March 31st, 2025, under the order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law. This order suspends the requirement of the open meeting law to hold all meetings in a publicly accessible physical location. It allows public bodies to convene entirely remotely, ensuring reasonable public access, so that everyone can follow along with the deliberations of the meeting. Please note that this meeting is being recorded and that all attendees are participating by video and/or telephone conference, and the recording will be available on the Newbury Access YouTube channel. Meeting materials were provided to the commission members prior to the meeting for review. Before we turn to the first item on the agenda, permit me to cover some ground rules. Has everybody been in a meeting before?
Yes.
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 Okay. So we don't need to go over the rules.
No, we can waive the rules. Everyone
Okay.
knows, everyone always operates in a very professional manner.
Finally, each vote taken in this meeting will be conducted by roll call vote. Now you can turn to the agenda.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Thank you, Sean. Upcoming meeting dates, team, March 19th and April 2nd. Meeting minutes for review. We have a number of past meeting minutes that Sean and I are working on, and we have to go back and kind of recreate some of them. So what I'm going to do is hold the review of any meeting minutes till the March 19th meeting, and I'm confident we'll be able to clean up meeting minutes going back to December 5th. All right, so just move on to the next. Okay, first order of business is a certificate of compliance for DEP file number 050140561 Boston Road for work on a septic system. Is the applicant present to make a presentation? Okay. Sean, did
There are still some people in the waiting room.
Okay, why don't you bring them in if you would?
While we're doing that, Bob, can I ask a question?
Yes, you can certainly, Mary.
Just about the upcoming meeting dates. I was listening to the preamble that Sean was reading, and it sounds like the open meeting law that allows virtual meetings only goes to the end of this month. Is that correct, or is it next year?
2025. Yeah,
Okay, thanks. I
2025.
didn't catch that. Thanks.
And actually, I think Governor Healy is thinking of making it permanent from what I've heard, but Which certainly makes it more convenient to have a quorum, being that we're a very mobile community. Okay, so 61 Boston Road, it's for work on a septic system. Sean, did we ever get any feedback from the Board of Health whether this the plan had been approved? I'm assuming it is because we issued an order of conditions. Sean, have you had a chance to take a drive by that site? See if it
Have
was,
not, but the system has been installed and the certificate of compliance was issued on 2/12/24. It could have been my predecessor.
okay, so there was a certificate of compliance issued on
12/24.
okay. All right, well, then it requires no further action on the part of the commission. Just double check that if you would, Sean.
Is that a certificate of compliance from the Board of Health?
Yes.
Okay,
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
there is some.
Okay. Okay, well, why don't I open this up? Any questions, team, on this? Mary, what's your thoughts? Sean hasn't had a chance to drive by it to verify its completion. Is the
yeah,
certificate-
this is my direct neighbor, so I'm not sure if it presents a conflict for me. I don't know, but I would just ask Sean when he does do a drive-by, just to confirm whether or not the site is stable. And vegetative growth is reestablished. It seems like it might be kind of quick for that, so it might need to wait a little bit longer to get that.
Thank you, Mary. Sean, so why don't we do this? Why don't we push this back to the March 19th meeting? And if you could schedule a drive-by with that, and if you have any questions, we can address them at that point.
Photos would be helpful.
That'd be great. Okay, any other questions from the members? Woody, any questions in this one? Does that make sense?
No, not right now. I think that's the right thing to do. What
Okay,
Mary said.
thank you, Woody.
Yeah, thank
Diane,
you.
how about yourself? Any questions in this one?
Nope.
Mick, any questions?
No, sir, no questions.
Okay, Brad Duffin, any questions?
No, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, I don't see TJ, so I'm assuming he hasn't signed in yet. All right, so moving on to the next matter before the commission is a certificate of compliance for DEP file number 0501263, 6 Old Rowley Road for work to add a potable water tank. Sean, can you provide an overview on this and make a recommendation? Or is the applicant present? Okay, it doesn't sound like the applicant's present. Sean, can you schedule a drive-by on that? I think the same thing, if you could take pictures and report back to us at the March 19th meeting. Does that seem like an appropriate action, team? Mary?
Sounds good to me.
Okay.
Yeah, there wasn't any real description of the project in the Dropbox.
I mean, I don't know what a potable water tank is, but
I didn't either. That's what I meant. I was just like, what
Yeah.
is that? What does it entail? And it didn't really describe it.
okay, well, team,
So it's a potable water tank, so who knows what they're using it for? Drinking water, house
Drinking?
utilities. Yeah,
Mhm.
they're near the salt marsh. That project's been since 2018. So I think it's expired.
well, a certificate of compliance, if the work has been completed prior to expiration, our policy has been that we will entertain a certificate of compliance if the work has been completed according to the order. Why don't I stop there? Mary, you want to add any further comment on that?
No,
Okay. Anyone else? Mick, Diane? Woody?
No further
No.
comment from me,
Brad?
no questions.
Okay, so
Good.
Look,
I think same thing, put that on your site inspection list, Sean, if you would, and we'll put that on the March 19th meeting agenda. Okay, request for a determination of applicability. Our file number 435, 4 Johnson Lane, for work on a septic system. Did we hear from the Board of Health, Sean, that they have approved the plan as submitted?
Yes, so the Board of Health approved the plan on February 22nd of this year,
Okay,
but the system has not been installed yet.
okay. Well, they're waiting our determination whether we're gonna come in with a negative finding or require an order. Why don't I stop there and let's open this up to comment. Is the applicant available? to
There's a
answer
raised
questions?
hand.
Okay,
that's-
Alec, I think, is this one of yours?
Yep, this is my project. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Alec, why don't you give us an overview of what you're proposing?
Hello, so my name is Alec Chongris. I'm representing the applicant at 4 Johnson Lane. So this is your standard septic system replacement or upgrade. It's a failed Title V system, and we're replacing the old system with a compliant Title V system. It's all the system is going to be in essentially the entire backyard. It's kind of a large system, unfortunately, but it's all an established lawn area. It got approved from the Board of Health last week or a week and a half ago. I forget exactly. I think it was last week, but we got approved from Board of Health. There are wetlands off property according to GIS. Before a couple of months ago, and back in January or so, I spoke with Samantha, seeing if we're okay to file with just an RDA going with a mass mapper, and she suggested us to go forward with that. And per the mass mapper boundary, or about 75 feet away from the system components, but everything is within the established lawn area.
Okay, let me open this up to questions from the member. Mary, any questions on this matter?
Is there a plan that we can look at?
Yes, I was coming back from the field late. I sent the plan over to Sean. If you guys mind, or Sean, could you please open that up? If you don't mind, because I'm on my cell phone, unfortunately.
My only concern is, a plan that relies
That
entirely.
file should be in your Dropboxes or Dropbox.
But can you open it, Sean, and
Yep.
share it with the commission?
Let me take my raise hand down. How do I do that?
Don't go anywhere, Alec. We'll have
Nope, I'm
questions.
good. I'm staying here. I'm just taking my hand down.
Is that sharing?
Yes.
Yep, that's the plan. If you mind just zooming in the top right corner so we can see a little bit bigger. Again, I apologize. I'm unable to do this for you. Alrighty. So the edge of lawn, you can see if you see my if you zoom in, there's a little zigzag line. That's the edge of lawn. It's kind of near the 50-foot buffer. That little gray zigzag line. That's the edge of lawn, and that beyond that, there's some hard deciduous trees. No indication of wetness. Obviously, I'm not an expert in that department, but no indication of wetlands on the actual property itself. It does look like it's a little bit beyond our property. But if you guys are concerned, I'd be happy to have a site walk for you guys to make the determination as well. But I just don't think getting the flags delineated on a neighboring property for a septic upgrade would be the most appropriate action for this project.
Okay, Mary, any question?
Yeah, I would just like to be able to confirm, that the wetland is roughly where it's shown. It's not critical, I know, for a septic upgrade, as long as it meets 50 feet. And that would meet the Title V requirements, but entirely relying on Mass Mapper and having no one else view the site, sounds like, I think that we should probably have some confirmation of what's on the plan first.
Okay. So Mary, are you asking or recommending that the wetland be flagged or just schedule a site visit for?
Just a
visual?
site visit, yes. And I'd be happy to meet out there with Alec or with, or whoever, and just confirm that so that we can
Sure.
have some level of comfort.
Oh, that's a tough question. My question, when are your availability? That's a scary question to ask. So
Alec, let me do this. Let me see if there's any other questions. And then we'll wrap this up by coordinating what date would work for the commission, Sean
Sure.
and yourself, if that's okay. All right, thank you. Woody, any questions on this matter for Alec?
No, I think a sidewalk's probably in order, and other than that, no, I don't have any other comments or questions. Thanks, Bob.
Okay, thank you, Woody. Brad, any comments?
No, Mr. Chair, I think it's pretty straightforward and it's fine.
Thank you, Brad. Mick, any questions on this matter?
Just Quickly, like, I don't think it shows, or maybe I'm not seeing what the existing system is and, the size of the system compared to the existing.
So the existing system itself, there wasn't any available plans for the exact footprint. We have the tank. If you zoom into where the proposed tanks are, you can see the existing tank. For my best guesstimate, it's a cesspool that's going to be, or a leach pit,
Okay.
roughly in the middle of the field. So I don't have the exact dimension for that because it's lack of records.
And Sean, for a second, could you just zoom in on that locus for me?
Sorry, which part?
Top
The
right.
locus in the lower or right, the
Oh,
locus.
right, okay, sorry.
Oh, yeah, I see it. Sorry.
Okay, all right, thank you. Thank you. No further questions. I agree with the members that site walk is definitely would be good here.
Okay, thank you, Mick. Diane, any questions on this matter?
Is the proposed system in about the same place as the existing system?
The approximate, yeah, the existing system was like a cesspool, leach pit type of thing. It's the approximate location, give or take, because I don't know the exact location because of lack of record plans.
Okay.
Okay, I don't have any questions. I think a site visit would be prudent. Sean, is there any raised hands from the public at this time?
No.
Okay. All right, so team, we're going to request a site visit. We'll continue this matter to the March 19th meeting for further review. What would be our pleasure? I think we've been meeting with the Tuesday after the meeting has been what we've been doing as a typical site visit. So that would
Let me,
be February, so that'd be what, March 14th?
Well,
March
12th.
12th.
well. Okay, what time do you guys would work for you?
I think 8:30 and 9 o'clock is what we've been doing.
I
Okay,
can't
let
do
me
the
put that-
12th, but if others go, that's fine.
Okay.
I can do 8:30 for the 12th of March, Tuesday, March 12th.
All right, team, how does that work for everybody? Mary, does that work okay for you?
sure, that works.
Okay, Woody, how does that work for you?
Great, that's great.
Uh,
Thank
Brad, is that okay for you? Okay, Mick, how about yourself?
Yeah, I can do the 12th at 8:30 a.m.
Okay.
as far as I know right now.
Okay. And Diane cannot make it, and I'm going to be unavailable myself, so. All right, so team, we're going to continue this matter. Where this is an RDA, well, why don't I do this just for the sake of convenience? Is there a motion to continue this matter to the March 19th meeting?
So moved.
Technically, we have to receive the applicant's consent first, yeah.
Okay, Alec, I'm assuming you're you're requesting a continuance for the site walk.
Yep, yes.
Okay. All right, so we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second,
Okay. All those in favor of continuing this matter to the March 14th, March 19th meeting? All in favor? Mary?
yes,
Woody?
Yes,
Brad? Brad, you might be on mute.
Hold on.
Okay. I'll come back to Brad. Mick? Okay, Mick.
Yes,
Diane?
Yes.
Okay, and I'm going to go circle back to Brad. Brad, give us a thumbs
Yes,
up.
yes.
Thank you, Brad. Okay, moving on.
Thank you.
Okay, we have an extension of permit DEP file number 0501248, 1 Elm Street for extension permit request for work on buffer zone. The original filing, according to the DEP portal, was June 9th, 2017. So my question, Mary, were you on the commission back then? Was this a 3-year or 5-year order?
we are only allowed to issue 3-year orders.
Okay, so this would have expired. Uh,
It's from the issuance of the order of conditions, not when it was filed, so.
And we've, excuse me, this is Wendy Reed with the Governor's Academy. We did receive one extension already, and that was July of 2021.
okay, so that would,
So that would expire June of this year.
okay. All right, why don't you provide an update for us in this matter? And why you're requesting a second extension?
Sure. So this plan was meant to cover all activities on campus. I mean, essentially the entire campus is a buffer zone. So just for our normal landscaping, road plowing, tree cutting, that kind of thing, we sought to have best management practices laid out for each of 5 areas on campus. And so we've been operating under this plan since 2018. We made some revisions in 2021 and then requested another extension. And so we're just requesting another extension again. I mean, I guess at some point we'd have to file a new notice of intent, but it's all the same practices. Nothing has changed in our best management practices or activities or anything like that.
Okay, why don't I see what questions the members have? Mary, any questions?
No, we can't issue more than 2 extensions, so this would be.
This would be the
The
second.
maximum we could get was another 3-year extension, right? And this would be
Right.
the second. Yep.
Yeah. So
Okay.
at that time, we'd have to file another notice of intent,
Correct.
correct? Yeah.
Okay, Woody, any questions in this one?
No, but I've been listening, it makes sense, so no questions.
Okay. Brad, any questions on this matter?
I'm good, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Brad. Mick, how about yourself? Any questions?
No questions, Bob. Thank you.
Okay, Diane, any questions?
No,
Okay, and I have no questions. I'll entertain a motion to approve the extension of 1 Elm Street order of conditions for an additional 3-year term or a
So
final
moved.
3-year term.
So moved.
second,
Okay, so Brad moved it, Diane seconded. Roll call vote, all in favor? Mary?
Yes, and I would just add, Wendy, if you could please send me and the town a fresh copy of the original approved management plan, that would be helpful, just so we
Sure.
have it
Yep.
handy. Thank you.
Yep.
Okay, thank you, Mary. Yeah, Woody?
Yes,
Brad?
Aye.
Mick?
Aye.
Diane?
yes.
And Bob Connors votes yes. Okay, the next order of business, a continued public hearing, DEP file number 0501386 for 333rd Street, the work to install a driveway to provide on-site parking with associated site work, including work within the 33rd Street right-of-way. I see Tom Hughes is present. Tom, do you want to provide an overview and an update on this?
Yes, actually, Mr. Chairman, we're still waiting for our attorney to get off a train. So I'm wondering if you could take the next order of business and then table this and come back to us right after that.
Okay, members, is everyone okay with that?
Sounds
Yes.
fine.
Yes,
Okay. All right, Tom, do you want us just to put you at the very end, Tom?
Whatever the pleasure of the commission. I mean, that certainly would be the safest to make sure he has enough time.
Okay. Okay,
May
well,
I
why don't we
comment
do-
briefly?
Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you, sir. I expressly asked of both Mr. Hughes and their attorney at what time they expected to begin, because I made it here on time and did not go to a different commission to which I was also scheduled. I'm only pointing that out to say that this discourtesy is not appreciated. It's not the Conservation Commission's fault. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Jamie. Okay, the next order of business is a continued public hearing on DEP file number 0501409, 18 Fordham Way, Blue Inn LLC for after-the-fact approval of work to replace 2 sets of beach access stairs. The applicant has notified us that they're finalizing the beach management plan, which was the last item that we were requiring. and is seeking to continue this matter to the March 19th hearing. So with that, I'm going to stop. Mary, any questions on this one?
No, but I think we need to be seeing some progress on this so it doesn't get, delayed. It was an enforcement action, so I just want to make sure that there's active work being done on this to move this project forward.
Tom, why don't you give us a quick update on, you have finalized your beach management plan, you're reviewing it with your client?
Yeah, actually, I want to give it one more read through. I've taken essentially what DCR did for a management plan at Salisbury Beach, removed a bunch of things that aren't relevant, but used the basic format to then get something to fit the end. And I just want to review it one more time. Then I've got to go through it with the client to make sure that we're in agreement on that, and then get that into you. So that is actively in process. And I really want to close this one out too. So.
Can I suggest that you also get Natural Heritage sign off on your
Right,
plan when you come back?
Obviously, anything we submit to the commission that changes our initial NOI, we do have to send to Natural Heritage and get their sign off. So,
All right, Tom, I'm just going to give you a heads up. The commission is probably going to be looking at a guideline for continuances in the near future, so that where that there's just not going to be an unlimited number of continuances without having to re-advertise, re-notify the abutters and so forth. But
right, no, that's fair
just giving you a fair warning on that it's not on our agenda tonight, but it will be on our next agenda because I'm going to put it there. So
yep,
just fair warning on that.
yep.
All right.
Thank you.
The applicant has requested a continuance to the March 19th meeting. Is there a motion to continue this public hearing to the March 19th meeting?
So
So
moved.
moved. Second,
Okay, roll call vote. All in favor? Mary,
yes.
Woody,
Yes.
Brad,
Aye.
Mick,
Aye.
Diane,
yes.
and Bob Connors votes yes. Okay, next order of business is a continued public hearing on DEP file number 0501422 94 Northern Boulevard for work to conduct landscaping, hardscaping, and paving work. Team, this just came in. It doesn't show on the portal the number, but Sean received a call from DEP. And so Sean, why don't you give us the update of what the technical comments were on this filing?
So I spoke to Jim, and the comment I did get on there was that their plans were a bit confusing, but they put them together. And that they didn't like the pavers because they can become projectiles. Other than that, there were no other comments.
Okay, is the applicant present to make a presentation? Ashley, I'm assuming that's,
Yes.
Ashley, are you making the presentation on behalf of 94 Northern? You're on mute if you,
Can you hear me?
yes, we can, Ashley.
Okay. Yes, I will present the information.
Okay, Ashley, just give us your name and your title and then give us your best 10 minutes of what you're trying to do.
Hi, I'm Ashley Hill. I work for TM Landscaping in Hamilton. We are working with the client in Plum Island. We're looking to, the client has done some recent renovations on the inside of the house and is now working on the landscaping for the front of the house along the street. Looking to improve on what is existing, which is basically just a dirt, a broken asphalt paving area, a dirt paving area so it's about 2 cars and paved area, partially paved area in front of the garage, 2 cars worth of dirt parking area, and just sand, and no walkway or anything to any of the entrances to the house. So they would be looking to excavate the existing asphalt and repave the area in front of the garage. Put down pea stone in the existing dirt paved area, dirt parking area, with something to contain it. So ideally like a cobblestone edging to contain the pea stone, and some kind of cobblestone or paver skirt to prevent that stone from spilling out into the street. And ideally a pervious paver walkway to the front door, which is on the right side of the property. So trying to direct people to the actual entrance to the house. And then associated with this would be native landscaping and some landscape lighting to improve visibility from the street. There's also a fence, the proposed fence that would be attached to the garage, or next to the garage, to contain and conceal the trash receptacles. So this would have an access point, but
Actually, do
to
you
contain-
have a plan that you can share with us?
I do, yep.
That'd be great if you could. Thank you. So Ashley, question I have is, what is the current square footage of the paved area? And what is the proposed repavement of that area? And is there any increase in the square footage? Do you have a table? If you could expand that.
I don't have it written down right here, but it's about half that's existing that remains. Originally, this whole area in front of the garage was paved. But the previous owner, when there was road work done on Northern Boulevard, he did not repave this when it was torn up for that work. So I can get the measurements, so it's probably about half that, so about 250 square feet, and now, would be bringing that to 500 square feet.
So you're looking to increase the pave area from 250 to 500, or do I have that backwards?
Yeah, it would be an increase of what is remaining of the existing, of the original paved area.
Okay.
Do you have a picture of the existing driveway?
Yes. Can you see that?
Yes.
So there's a part that does, that remained, that did go all the way down to the street. But it looks like this was all torn up during construction of, I don't know if they were doing utility work on the street. I don't know the exact details of what was done with the previous owner in his time there.
Okay, Ashley, why don't I stop you there and open this up for questions? Mary, why don't I start with you? Questions for Ashley on this application?
Yeah, can we project the plan once again, please? So this is not this is a notice of intent. We're not doing an RDS. It's a notice of intent. This is not a stamped plan. This is not a surveyed plan. This is a sketch from the landscaper, which doesn't include a lot of information, doesn't include any information on grades. It doesn't include, context of, where the site is. And it from what I could see of the site, it it's not exactly lining up with what is actually on the site. So I'm uncomfortable with the plan that how it's been presented. It's just lacking a fair amount of information that we would typically have. I'm uncomfortable with increasing the driveway or any impervious area on site. This is a coastal dune. We don't have any information on what flood zone it's in on the plan. It's just not a plan that we could easily use to do a certificate of compliance from, because it's just not, it doesn't have enough detail. So I appreciate that, the plantings where they're proposed. I don't, you had mentioned removing material and resurfacing. We don't know how much material is proposed to be removed. It's just, I just don't think we can accept this plan. That's my opinion.
Okay, Mary. Mary, it would seem also that a site visit may be appropriate too, just
Sure.
to get a feel for this. All right, Mary, I'll circle back after we go through the rest of the members. Woody, what are your thoughts on this one?
I agree with both of you. A little more details on the plans would be great, and maybe a site visit would be in order so everyone can get a feel of what's going on there.
Okay, thank you, Woody. Brad,
Yep.
Woody,
Yes.
I'm sorry. Anything else, Woody? I didn't mean to.
No, not at all. Thank you, Bob.
Okay, thank you, Woody. Brad.
Yes,
comment.
yes, Mr. Chair. So I just Googled this on my phone of exactly where 94 was on Northern Boulevard. It's interesting that the Google photo came up with 12 years ago. And more than half of that space in front of the house had beach grass and other vegetative growth in it. And it looks like per this plan, the southerly car space is encroaching on what that space was 12 years ago. So I agree that we need some more detail on this. And I'd also like to see a more detailed plan on the existing block retaining wall to be repaired. Being repaired, does that mean being taken down and replaced with something else? Or does that mean being faced? Does it mean being raised or lowered? There's a fair amount of questions that I think would need to be answered on this. And is this part of a bigger development? I don't recall this applicant coming to us with any of the renovations to the house that I do know are under happening right now.
Okay, good question. Brad.
It's not part of a development. It's a single family home.
No, I do know, excuse me, Ashley, I do know that it is a single family home, but I also do know that it is being renovated because I walk by it every day. And the fact that there's a dumpster in the front yard in the picture that you show tells me that it's being renovated. So.
Yeah, I live there. This is my house, Maureen. I'm on the call. The house was not finished inside, so we've done a lot of work of putting flooring in and things like that. So that's mainly what we've been doing. We changed some windows, things like that in terms of renovations. And we're going to be getting a permit for a bathroom project, but that hasn't started.
Okay. Typically what happens is before you start work on Plum Island, you'd come to the commission for a request for determination of applicability. If you weren't having any outward expansion, you would likely receive a negative finding. That would typically be your first step. I know that sounds a little bit strange, but I live on Plum Island and a number of the members do. Those are the rules that we operate by to be in compliance with the Wetland Protection Act. So let me do this. Mick, any questions? And then we can recap of what we would
just
like to
to-
see.
Thank you, Bob. Just maybe a suggestion for Ashley, something to include with a more detailed plan, I think, is we do always try to look for what you're doing with construction or debris or materials that you remove while you're making improvements, and what the plan is to, prevent runoff and sedimentation from your excavation spoils. So that's something to consider as you upgrade these plans. I think a sidewalk's in order. And just had a question, maybe Sean or Ashley might be able to expand on the comment regarding the pavers becoming projectiles. And it's just, we talking about where are those pavers going to be installed, and what was the concern, I guess. You can just give me a little more detail, Sean, what the comments were from the agency.
So it's just like any or a lot of items on Plum Island that when you have severe weather, they
Mhm.
can, those objects, for example, the pavers, they can rattle their way out and then
Okay,
they can become projectiles.
okay.
So Ashley, Mick, I'm sorry, Mick, do you have any other comments you want to add?
No,
Okay.
that was just trying to get just my head around the whole comment on these pavers coming loose and exactly where they were gonna be installed.
So-
It looks like construction's coming, across the easement really and right to the edge of the pavement, paved road. That's what it looks like to me.
So Ashley, typically what we would expect to see from a notice of intent would be your plan would be submitted to a surveyor. It would identify existing conditions and proposed conditions with tables of what we're doing, what's existing for pavement, what the net reduction of the pavement is. And typically that's what we would expect to see. Your plan would typically usually go to a surveyor or registered engineer to provide that documentation. What that does, it affords the commission the ability to ascertain that the net impact of the resource area. And when the order of conditions is issued, if we have to include any additional special conditions, when you come back for a certificate of compliance, it just adds clarity to what we're approving, what we expect, and giving you really a roadmap of what we would expect to be completed.
Okay,
Okay, so what I'm going to suggest is, team, do we want to schedule a site visit before we get an updated plan that shows existing and proposed? It would almost seem it would almost seem it would make more sense to get the updated plan with existing and proposed, schedule a site visit, and then go from there. But
I agree.
Diane,
agree.
what are your thoughts on this?
I think it'd be better to do the site visit afterwards, so then at least we'll have an idea of what we're looking for.
Okay, so Ashley, what I would suggest is talk to your client. You need a more detailed plan showing existing, proposed, proper tables.
we do have this site survey from, that was done by a surveyor.
But it doesn't,
Winter.
it's not showing existing versus proposed in the
That looks-
quantities.
Yep. That
Okay,
looks like it was done by Everett Chandler, and you could give him your proposed plan and he could overlay and create the plans that you need for submission from this.
Okay,
okay, so what you have, it would seem you would want to request a continuance to a meeting in the near future to give you some time. March 19th is our next meeting. It probably won't afford you enough time to get a revised, an updated plan with proposed and existing in place. We could put it on the agenda for March 19th. And if you're ready, then we could take further action and schedule a site visit. If not, you could request a continuance if you needed more time.
okay, well, we'll certainly try to have it done before then.
Okay,
I mean,
so you're requesting a continuance to the March 19th meeting of your public hearing?
yes,
Okay. All right, team, we have a request from the applicant to continue this public hearing to our March 19th agenda. I'll entertain a motion to continue the public hearing.
So moved.
Is there a
Second.
second? Okay, roll call vote, all in favor, say, Mary,
Yes,
Woody,
Yes,
Brad,
Yes.
Mick.
Aye.
Diane,
Yes.
and Bob Connors votes yes. Thank you, Ashley. It looks, it's a great looking plan. It just, we need some more detail. Okay, so I'm gonna revert back to the 333rd Street property. So DEP file number 0501386 333rd Street. For work to install a driveway to provide on-site parking, associated site work, including work within the 33rd Street right of way. Tom Hughes, do you want to give us a recap of where we're at on this? And then Jamie, I'll certainly let you respond for the rebuttal.
Yeah, so I'll give a quick overview of the materials we submitted, what's transpired since the last hearing. And also do want to let you know that, so the train had issues, which is why Chip is delayed. He says he'll be on within, 5 minutes or so. So we should be okay. I can start. If there's any questions I need him for, obviously we may have to defer till he joins. So when we were last in front of the commission, you may recall I had responded to a town council opinion. And there was some discussion about the plans and all of that. And we continued in order for us to evaluate the commission's comments, as well as to request that our response go to town council for some follow-up. A follow-up letter was written by council in December. Unfortunately, it ended up finding its way to an old email address I haven't really used actively in about 10 years. And so I only came upon that a few weeks ago, or actually about 3 weeks ago. And so in reviewing that, we packaged up a response, got it in with a couple plans that we had tried to work on to be responsive to the commission, and thought they showed, good alternatives as to why we really need to go forward with the project that town council does, restate their position. It requires a variance. And we've provided those two plan alternatives that we came up with as supporting information in that variance request. You may recall I made the variance request in that letter where I responded to town council, so that if town council still felt that way, we had our variance request in. And what I'd like to do quickly is I can share my screen, just pull up the plans, and walk through the variance criteria with the commission. So I'm going to share screen, if that's okay with the commission. Of course, I know it's not your agenda that we need to do. I just need to hide the panel so I can actually choose the right things. Okay. Okay, so this is the plan we had before you at the last commission meeting. And as I had discussed, 33rd Street is not really a traveled way so much other than to get to this property, but it's more of a pedestrian way that is used to get to the beach by folks on Plum Island in this area. It had been used for 70 years, essentially as a driveway and parking for this property. And as we've talked to the commission about before, the town asked the property owners to stop parking there. And so we came forward with a proposal to bring the parking onto the property. As we've discussed before, we produced a plan that had a little bit of a drive on the site and some turnaround area here. And basically the purpose of this was to give enough room for a vehicle to actually navigate into the parking space, and also to be able to turn around and go out head first. Basically in the interest of safety of any pedestrians using this, and also the issue of backing out of this, fairly narrow area, and most of the time having to cross Northern Boulevard across traffic to turn heading towards the center. So that's what this plan is. When we looked at the two alternatives of not doing a turnaround and not having this drive run up, because town council's opinion is if we do any driveway, that would trigger a variance requirement, and improvement to the roadway, extension of the roadway would also require a variance requirement. So we looked at first stacking the sites, and if we, the parking spots, if we did 2 9x18 spaces, you actually can't turn in and stay within the rectangle. So you have to do kind of an odd shape that really almost negates the use of this first spot to be able to get up in here. And then you do have to back out. And the other thing we looked at was side by each. And in that case, you can get a single vehicle in, it does have to back out, but you're creating 2 spaces really to get 1 usable space. And if you tried to get 2 cars in there, maybe if you had a couple small cars and jockeyed around for a while, backing in and out of 33rd Street in the process, you might be able to get 2 cars to fit. But it really doesn't really work very well or very efficiently or in a manner that is as safe as being able to sort of pull in and then, you know, turn around. So you're really doing much more minimal sort of backing in and out of 33rd Street. But as we pointed out before, in the trade-off of keeping our impacts low, we did, you know, there is some jockeying still needed to have 2 cars to work here, but it's not anything like what it would be with the other alternatives. So in terms of, you know, looking at the bylaw and the criteria that was in my earlier letter, you've got the issue with, you know, are there any reasonable alternatives to provide parking? Well, street parking is available in the summer at the discretion of the town based on getting a permit, but it's not available throughout the entire winter. And the family uses this property year round. So that alternative really doesn't exist. In terms, the next thing is about, do we propose mitigating measures? And in terms of that, in my view, we do. We mitigate for the vegetative impacts. We did do our best to minimize the footprint of impacts, and you know, we improve dune function. The areas where we're proposing to plant are more active areas within the dune system. This area here has its function somewhat diminished because it's sheltered from winds and sand movement by the structures that exist on either side here. And in terms of an overriding public interest, you know, I look at the fact that the bylaw envisioned providing reasonable parking for properties that were in the V zone and the AO zone. But in a situation where you strictly apply that without granting a variance, you essentially don't provide the 2 parking spaces that are envisioned. You're basically using 2 parking spaces to get 1 in either of these scenarios. And so I think in general, the bylaw intended for people not to go crazy in the velocity zone or the AO zone with parking and not to go beyond the minimal they need. But I don't think, I think it's consistent with the intent of the bylaw to allow reasonable parking that gives you those 2 spots. And that necessitates in this situation the turnaround and the drive. Then it does not, so basically the next thing says that it doesn't authorize you to waive any parts of the Wetland Protection Act. We have not requested that you waive anything related to the Wetland Protection Act, nor do you have the authority to do that. And we believe we firmly meet the performance standards consistent with other approvals that this commission has granted in the past. And so to that, I believe, you know, we meet the variance criteria, and town council in their memo to the commission in December indicated that our response provided the basis for a variance and generally concurred with that and suggested that, you know, through testimony of the applicant at the hearing, we go through these elements I just went through. So I have done that. I think we've been round and round on this. I think we'd like to you know, move forward with a vote on the variance. And, you know, obviously answer any questions the commission has first and try to move this thing forward.
Okay, thank you, Tom. So I'm going to open questions up to the members and then I'll open it up to the public. And so Jamie, I'm not forgetting about you. So Tom, you're proposing, if I understand you, you're proposing the variance in excess of the 324 square feet to be expanded to the 466 square feet. And if the board does not grant that, you want to go with as the alternate, the complying with the bylaw without the variance. Am I correct?
Yeah, I mean, we need some parking, and I think were the commission to deny the variance, which applies to both the extension of 33rd Street and the drive to get to the parking. Between the two options, I mean, this one, you know, is this really a 9x18 space? You know, the area works, but it isn't really a 9x18 space. It also is much more difficult. I think we would prefer to go with this one, which at least allows one car in there and back out, but it does, it comes with issues and problems related to the, you know, to both its use as well as the, you know, the use of 33rd Street by pedestrians. So yes, I think what I would like to do is move forward, have discussions about the variance. If there are tweaks that the commission would like for us to make that would enable a variance to grant, we can certainly discuss those. But ultimately, if the variance fails, I guess between the two options, we would want to go with site plan B, I think.
Okay, let me stop you there, Tom, and open this up to questions from the members. Mary, what questions do you have for Tom or concerns?
Yeah, this is a difficult one. So I would say that if the commission did approve a variance, it would have to be demonstrated that there was no other way to do this and that there was mitigation provided. And one of the alternatives might be, and I don't know if this is the case, it's been a while since I've been at the site, but it seemed like there were on the west side of this house, there was quite a bit of like sort of accessory structure, porches or sheds or things like that, that seem to be pushing your driveway closer to the lot line there. And I don't know if there's any opportunity for making some changes to the layout of the house or anything like that to give you, oh, it's a porch. Okay. There's a porch, there's steps. That's what the limitation is there.
Yeah, I mean,
And
so
it's a wraparound porch all the way. Okay.
right, and we do actually have to move the stairs even to make this work.
Mm-hmm.
So we are, you know, we are adjusting the structure. It's a much more significant change to start getting into removing the porch here.
It might be necessary to get the required mitigation is all I'm saying, you know, throwing it out there that's one option. Also wanted to ask you about the turning radiuses that you were showing. Is that something that the engineer provided or is that?
That's from the engineer.
You added, okay.
No, that's all from the engineer.
Okay.
That's on a stamp plan.
Yep. Just want to make sure. Yep.
Yeah, and the other thing I do want to point out is we've got 1,100 square feet. We're doing 2-to-1 for plantings. So we're providing significant planting, and also in an area, as I said, this is an area that is not as exposed. In fact, you have some sumac that's growing in here, which you typically don't see in a primary frontal dune area like this. And that's because you don't have a lot of sand movement in here. You have, you know, the northeast winds come in, and this area is sheltered. Where we're planting, the dune grass will have significantly more dune function.
Yeah, and I'm appreciative of the fact that, you know, to get proper access to a house, you know, you need to make a reasonable space for not just 2 passenger cars, but whatever other vehicles might need to service this house in the future. So I'm cognizant of that as well. I'm curious what other members have to say about this, so I'll pass on.
Okay, and I'll circle back with everybody, Mary, and I think the approach is going to be, Mary, that Tom is requesting a variance. We'll address that first, and depending on the outcome of that, we will follow up with the second option.
Mhm.
Okay, thank you, Mary.
And Ms.
Woody?
Mr.
Right.
Chairman, can I
Yes.
just quickly respond to something Mary said? I
Sure.
do want to point out, this is really only for 2 cars parked, where it's not going to be any whatever other vehicles, it's just for 2. And we would gladly accept a restriction and any order that set that.
Yeah, my point was just to, the turning radius has to be able to accept
Right,
something bigger than a passenger car at some point potentially, so.
right.
Okay.
Okay, thank you, Mary. Woody, questions for Tom? What are your thoughts on this one?
I don't have any questions at this time, Bob. I might in the future. I'm just gonna.
Okay. Once we go through the first round of questions from members, I'll double check with everybody, then I'll open it up to public comments. Brad, what's your feeling on this one?
This is a tough one because I can understand the homeowner's plight to try and establish permanent parking on their site. As I've stated previously, probably 5 continuances ago, that I respectfully disagreed about backing out onto Northern Boulevard there. The speed limit on Northern Boulevard is 25 miles an hour. And a number of the properties that are adjacent or even on the other side of Northern Boulevard have to do that every day. So that argument, for at least for me, doesn't hold a lot of weight. I'm also a little uncomfortable with the way that this is presented, that if we don't approve, then we're going to go after that. To me, those are separate issues. But I can understand why Tom did this and presented it this way because of the ultimate need to get parking on the property. So, as Mary said, this concerns me. But if somebody's taking a straw poll, I am not in favor as presented for a variance to this.
Okay, Brad. Mick, anything else, Brad, before I move on?
No, thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you, Brad. Mick, your thoughts and comments on this matter?
Yeah, question for Tom. Tom, when I was at the site a few months ago for a site visit, there was a discussion at the eastern end of where your proposed turnaround is. There was a dune there that was kind of created by by some invasive species, and there was a comment to remove that dune to accommodate your area, kind of in where you see the 10-foot and then dune grass. Yes, in that area is, what if you're going to remove that dune, what is going to stop migration of sand into that proposed area for a turnaround? Although it is invasive species creating that dune, the dune is there and it does serve a function. So I didn't see anything in here that would be, they even mentioned the removal of that small dune and what you would be doing to compensate for that.
Right. So the way this is done, and Sean is on, but basically this is a fill, so we're actually adding materials so that we don't have to do anything. There may be, I think you're talking about the remnant sort of snowplow berm, which I think there may be some of that, but we've basically got all the spot grades here. We incorporated and reviewed the comments from the neighbor's engineer, and our engineer revised this. The sand moving through here, we're not looking to stop it. And DEP routinely puts conditions when they approve a project that involves a driveway in a dune system that requires any sand accumulation on a driveway to be removed by hand and placed back into, any debris taken out of it and it put back into the dune system. So we're not looking to stop the movement of sand. There is some movement of sand in this area. It's a little more exposed than in this area, but it also is vegetated with woody plants, including Oriental bittersweet and the Rugosa rose, neither of which is native. And obviously the bittersweet is on the list of invasive plants. So, you know, our grading was refined to make sure that it worked with existing grades and didn't extend over the property line in any way. And, you know, if the town is plowing gravel mixed with sand up against that, if it's, you know, then that, if it's a sort of fresh plow layer, that would get removed. But I think that everything else has actually been topoed and worked into the plan.
Okay, thank you. You know, I do have to, you know, to follow up on Mary's comment, I do agree that, you know, variance really, you know, requires a, you know, show that there is no other alternative, and obviously you've presented us with two other alternatives, although not optimal, they are alternatives. So, you know, that's kind of my position on the variance as we go forward.
Right.
I don't have any other questions at this time.
Yeah, and Mr. Chair, if I can respond as well on that. In terms of the alternatives we put forward, essentially they both are sort of workable for one car to be able to back out. So we can't get two spaces without a lot of work and maybe with some smaller cars. But the other big item is not so much the backing onto North End Boulevard. I recognize there's driveways and all that, but it's the backing out on on essentially a pedestrian route to get to the beach. Is also not ideal from a safety point of view, but I can respect the commission's decision on review of the town council letter. We wanted to come forward and make our best case for the variance. If we have to live with essentially functionally one space through alternative B, it's better than not having any parking. But it really is not an alternative in terms of being able to get the two spaces that I think the bylaw envisioned. And that, I guess that's our, you know, point on that.
Okay, thank you, Tom. Diane, questions for Tom on this matter?
Yeah, I've been here twice and it's been going on for a while. My thoughts are essentially that it's not like they decided to do this on their own. They were told to do it by the town, or at least they were told they couldn't park where they had been parking. I think what we're calling, you know, Tom's alternatives aren't really, it doesn't really give you two spaces. And I think the idea was that we're allowed to give two spaces, and there has to be a way to get to those two spaces. And if that's some footage that would have to grant the variance on, then in my view, it's if you look at that space, it's not just like backing out onto Northern Boulevard. You're backing down the street and before you get to Northern Boulevard, where it's less of a street and more of a pedestrian walkway, in my view. You know, I think it's used more by pedestrians than cars. It's the only other house that's up there. You know, I think there's mitigation that's been proposed, and I guess that's my view. It's parking on the street, I don't think is a viable option for them, and they've been told by the town that they can't park where they've been parking. So I think if we're gonna give the two parking spaces, then we have to give them a way to get there.
Okay,
That's
thank
my
you,
view.
Diane. Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of valid points have been raised by the members. The one remaining matter for me is 33rd Street is a beach access. It's not really a roadway. And I think the reason the town has required the applicant to move the vehicles off the roadway is to provide an unfettered access for pedestrians. And the increase from the bylaw of 324 square feet, which would be without the variance, or the proposed 466 square feet. You know, I'm right on the edge here. Public safety, the intent is to give them 2 parking spots is the bylaw. The additional 140 square feet, of which is primarily in a right of way for the town. So I'm going to stop there. Mary, I'm going to circle back to you. We're going to go through the commission one more time, then I'm going to open this up to public comment, and I'm quite sure Jamie will have some thoughts on this matter.
You know, I don't have any further comments at this time. I would be interested to hear what Jamie has to say. Okay, thank you, Mary. Woody, any other comments?
Couple quick clarification questions, because I can't read all the plans. Is it right away now plowed, I mean paved? And go ahead.
Okay, so there is a square of pavement right here, which is around the sewer manhole. So when the sewer went into Plum Island, the compromise with DEP was they allowed essentially an apron of pavement in a square around each manhole so that they would not get damaged during plowing activity.
But the rest of the road remains unpaved.
Yeah, it remains unpaved, it remains gravel, and you know, we're looking at, you know, gravel or clamshell for the surface for the parking.
Okay, and one more quick clarification question. About where your cursor is, that corner, I believe it's the northwest corner of the driveway, where it meets the right of way. How far is it from the corner of that property line to Northern Boulevard? Yes.
Let's see. This is where the property of Northern Boulevard is. I can't say, it doesn't label that as paved or non-paved, so I don't know. But basically you are looking at 5.54 inches. So that, I think this is a 10 scale plan, so 55 feet.
55 feet. Okay, thank you. I haven't been on a site walk yet, so sorry for the clarifications. Thank you, Bob.
Okay, thank you, Woody. Brad, any follow-up on your comments?
No, like I said, this is a tough one. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you, Brad. Mick?
I have no other questions or comments at this time. Thank you.
Okay, Diane, any follow-up comments?
Nothing, no, thanks.
Okay, and I have none. Sean, do we have any raised hands from the public at this time? I know that Jamie is, I can't see her raised hand, but I know she's there. Oh, there she is.
Oh, so she's actually raising her hand. Okay.
Okay. Jamie, welcome. I think the commission is well aware of the multitude of communications you've sent in on this matter and your opposition to the proposed work. If you could be concise, we would appreciate that. But
I would be delighted. May I share my screen while I speak?
you
I'll
sure
be
can.
very brief.
Thank you.
Thank you. Now, of course, I have to figure out how to click share screen where I couldn't before. There we go. All right, can you see that?
Yes.
A few of you, and perhaps Sean, welcome, Sean. Pleasure to meet you on a Zoom. And again, thank you all the commissioners for your volunteer service. This is what you are looking at. This is not some snowplow residual from the town. I think people need to be aware of exactly what you're looking at. Doesn't matter how you characterize it as, is it Rosa rugosa? Is it invasive? Is it not? This is sand. This is not difficult, in my opinion, about what you're looking at. This is a dune. The next image I wanted to share is, this is the area where the parking spaces would go. And this isn't even their most vegetated state. Now,
You change slides, we don't.
Yeah, that thing, we're still looking at.
oh,
the
sorry, I
original.
did. Yeah, you didn't see that?
No.
No, it has not changed.
Hold on, I'll try again. Can you see that one?
So you're currently probably viewing this on one single layer.
All right, let me just try another one. My apologies, and I'll be very, very fast.
You're welcome.
Many things to do here. There, now does that one show?
No, you have
Yeah.
a shared screen.
Yeah, sure.
Where? I'm trying, give me 2 seconds. I'm not usually the presenter, so I'm not as skilled as many people are.
So if you go to share screen,
Yeah,
all participants. There you go.
so you can see that one, but now when I try to share the second one,
We'll see it now.
You got it now.
If you
Oh, now you
enlarge
can see it?
Yep.
next to the X.
Thank you. So I just wanted you to see while I spoke that this is where you're talking about putting parking spaces. And this is not even its most vegetated time. So just with the images of that dune and the parking spaces, allow me please to say also how irritating it is with all of your professionalism that I have asked repeatedly for this town council document that supposedly came out December 6th. And I was told expressly, no, town council has not been asked for any updated opinion. And then as recently as the last few days, when I've asked for whatever that letter was, supposedly dated December 6th, well, Tom and the applicant seem to have it, I do not. So I'm going to respond as best I can, but I don't think it's appropriate to have no public record when it's in front of you. And I've asked repeatedly for the public records. I understand there's a transition, not a problem, but it is a problem when the public is not informed and able to comment appropriately. So what I have to do is comment as briefly as possible, first on just the variance, and then I understand, Mr. Chairman, you'd like to do what you want to do on that, although my recommendation would be there should be no vote until the documents have been made public and provided to those who asked for them. So first that. Second, it is absolutely not true, as presented by Mr. Hughes, that it's a necessary matter of public interest not to be able to back out. It's an overriding safety concern. One of you commissioners has already noted that it is beyond commonplace to back out in that area. 102, 104, 106, 108 Northern Boulevard, they all back out, and that's just a few of them. It is also absolutely not true that it's a necessity to do this. There is no necessity for parking on site, even though it's been abused for whatever number of years, as admitted by the applicant's representative, to use the public right-of-way for their own private property purposes. This is private property that they want to convert to include parking to improve its value, which is entirely understandable, but not what the job of the Conservation Commission is to do. So now I turn to the standards for a variance. And those I've provided to you before. You've cited to them quite well, some of you, but I think it's worth repeating. The presumption is against approval. That's why you have not granted a variance in anybody's recent memory, including the last 5 years. No variances granted. What a precedent this one makes, to take this down and take down a dune in order to grant a variance. The requirements are no reasonable conditions or alternatives that would allow the project to proceed in compliance. There are reasonable conditions or alternatives that would allow, because they said so themselves. It is irrational to say there aren't any. And, not or, mitigating measures proposed to allow the project to be conditioned so as to contribute to the protection of the wetland resource areas located on the barrier beach. Not so. You just saw a dune, and the mitigating measures proposed are elsewhere, not right here. And the variance is necessary to accommodate an overriding public interest. This is not an overriding public interest, as I just said about the backing out issue as being the only thing. Even if legal counsel said it was possible to meet that requirement, I'm quite certain this legal counsel would not have said they did meet the requirements of a variance. That's up to you. And legal counsel would not have told you you must grant this. I'm certain of that. Or to avoid a decision that so restricts the use of the property as to constitute an unconstitutional taking without compensation. There is nobody on this call that has even begun to mention this being an unconstitutional taking without compensation. So there we are. I'd like to point out that as far as reasonable alternatives go, not only haven't they looked into getting town approval to park on the street in the winter, which could easily be given as an approval to park there. Also, I respect Mary Reamer's, I respect Mary Reamer, period. but I respect the observation. It's not just cars, it's also whatever delivery vehicles. Delivery vehicles have been coming to this site for as long as there's anybody been using that site, not a problem. So the other alternatives that also haven't been mentioned include, they haven't made a single inquiry about getting parking spaces through a lease by nearby properties that are available for lease parking spaces, including on a long-term basis, not a single inquiry. I'm trying hard not to be fresh, but it's getting a little tiring to hear as if it's an entitlement to get these parking spaces, and it's only a question of how we get our entitlement parking spaces. I'll now stop because you've let me go on long. Mr. Chairman, thank you very much. Although, of course, I'll take a question, but thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Jamie. Okay, I'm going to circle back. Sean, are there any other members of the public that have a raised hand that would like to speak?
Not that I see.
Okay. Tom, I'm going to let you respond to Jamie's comments, and I'm going to circle back to the members.
Okay. So certainly, with regards to what information has been available through the town and not available through the town, I can't help with that.
I asked you.
It's not my job to be providing public record. So, you know, in terms of what we're looking at in terms of safety, it's not the backing out onto North End Boulevard, it's the backing down 55 feet of area that is being used by pedestrians to access the beach. And, you know, we would disagree with regard to the public benefit. One thing I do want to note is that when you look at the footprint with regard to Mary Rimmer's comments, I mean, we are putting it where there's a wooden walkway, where there are some stairs, where there are some structures within that. It's not the main beef part of the porch, but let me just share that. It's a little bit tough to read till you really zoom in, but you can kind of see there's a wooden walk right here. There's a walk here that connects to the stairs. So all of this gets removed in order to allow this to go in. So we are doing that. We are also mitigating. With regards to the area at the end there, all of that, I mean, that area was surveyed by a land surveyor, picked up the grades, and the engineer incorporated the grades into the plan without any cut. So my understanding is no cut. I think Sean Malone, who is the project engineer, is in the meeting. So Sean, I don't know if you wanted to add to that. Let me just double check on participants, but I'm pretty sure he's. Yep, Sean.
Yeah, no, I'm here, Tom, but in the question that you posed to me was what?
Sean, Sean, please identify yourself and your title.
Yes, and actually I'll turn on the video as well. Yeah, good evening, everyone. I'm Sean Malone, Oak Consulting Group. I am a licensed professional civil engineer in the state of Massachusetts.
So Sean, the question was in this area, and actually, so here's the end of the fence, and the attorney for the neighbor showed a picture that shows a mound kind of right in this area. I think that 24.5 spot grade is probably the top of it.
Yeah.
But does your plan necessitate any cut in that mound of dune, or are you filling to work around it?
We're basically matching the same grades.
So no cut. You're basically matching into what's there.
Right.
Okay. So I think that's the only other question I think that was out there. Now, with regards to lease parking somewhere nearby, I mean, we're talking about, you know, folks who are not getting any younger, the family that owns this house, you know, this is the children of the original owners and then their children. And the children of the original owners are, you know, it would be burdensome to cause them to have to walk significant distances to get into a family house that's been in the family for 70 years. And I think that as I've said, the bylaw envisioned giving reasonable accommodation to parking for properties in the V zone, but because of the sensitivity to the V zone, they wanted to limit it so that people didn't, have license to put 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 spots. So with regard to that, I mean, I guess, if the commission feels it's necessary to cure the lack of information that was provided to the neighbor's attorney and wants to vote at the next meeting, I'll leave that up to the commission. But we're comfortable with our position, and I would say, when I say that we would accept alternative B, one parking spot is better than nothing, and backing up still creates safety issues, but that's the reason I say that, okay, well, if the variance fails, then we would ask the commission to then take the best of two bad options and approve those. We would still include the same mitigation and just try to move forward so the family can have a spot to park.
Thank you, Tom. I'm gonna open this back up to Mary. Mary, you've heard both Jamie's passion on why this shouldn't be approved, and you've heard Tom's rationale why it should. What further questions do you have?
I think that we have all the information we need to, or
I
I do
agree.
at least, have the information I need at this point. And one suggestion I might make for procedure is that we close the public hearing portion of the project whenever the members are satisfied that they've received all the information that they need to make a decision, and that we schedule a time at our next meeting to deliberate on this and issue our findings. Just one way to go about it. So it's every time I think about this, I think about it in a little bit different way, but I do have the information, I think at this point, to understand the project and what it's attempting to do. So.
Okay, thank you, Mary. So Mary, just for clarification, we have an alternative to the variance. Are you saying close the public hearing to both matters, or?
Yeah, we don't have to
Yeah.
decide tonight necessarily on either one of them.
Okay.
We could if you'd like to, but
Yeah, I mean, so
then it,
let me ask you a question, Mary. You don't require any additional information at this time. I think that's really
no, this is as I understand, this is the plan that the applicant would like to put forward. So
Okay.
I think this is the plan we are to vote on. If
Okay.
they, yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Mary. Woody, any questions that you have, any additional information that you feel is necessary?
I would just like to comment that thanks both Jamie and the applicant for their information, and I'd also like to say that I will abstain and vote because I missed the beginning of this public hearing and I missed the sidewalk. But that being said, I agree with Mary that this is the plan they're presenting, so this is the plan that should be voted on, and that's all, Bob. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Woody. Brad, do you request any additional information in this matter or have any other follow-up comment? You're on mute, Brad, if you could speak.
I'm good, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Okay. Diane, do you have any requests for further information or comments on the discussion?
No, I don't have a request for further information. I've just been looking at the plan. I mean, the parking spaces, the distance between 33rd Street and where the two parking spaces start, it's not a large distance. It's a few feet. And it's just, I think the bylaw allows us, it's not an entitlement, but the bylaw allows us to grant them 2 parking spaces. And if someone owns a house on Plum Island and they need 2 parking spaces, I don't think they should have to lease the space someplace else or, park in the public way if the town is telling them that they can't be there. So I guess that's my comment.
Okay. And you know what, I think this matter has been before the commission for a long time. We've had a lot of information. We have received a legal opinion, which was for the benefit of the board. And Jamie, if you didn't get a copy of that, we'll provide you one. You can always do a FOIA request if you wanted to, you did a FOIA request in that document? To the town clerk or the keeper of the records? Okay, that, as you know, a FOIA request goes to the keeper of the records or the town clerk. So,
I will say, I will be very quiet and say only, thank you. I did ask, I asked specifically of your agent and I asked of Mr. Hughes. And respectfully, an information request can be made by saying, this is an information request, which is what I did. But thank you. I appreciate where you are right now. I know what you're going to do. Thank you.
okay. All right, team. There's no other raised hands from the public?
It looks
We
like
do
there is
have
one raised
more.
hand.
There's
Yep.
Richard.
Okay,
Haven't heard from him
yeah, Richard? Oh, okay. He is legal counsel for the applicant.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. Yeah, I'd raised my hand when Tom was speaking so that I could piggyback. First, I'm sorry that I was late. I think that Tom continued this or tabled it because I was on the MBTA. I'm lucky I did get here anyway, but I think I just wanted to make a couple of real quick points. I know that you have all the information in front of you. I think one of the concerns that members may have that Jamie tied to was this precedent question. The reason that a variance was included in the bylaw was because there are certain circumstances, certain times when it's appropriate for you to make a change or a different action on a matter just because of the circumstances. And we have those unique circumstances here. And that's why it's a variance. We have an instance where we had parking that's not allowed in the public way. It's not appropriate on the street. And I think everyone agrees that this distance coming down from this location down to Northern Boulevard is longer than others, and it also has a public way that's intervening. So it is more dangerous than any of the others. But I don't want anyone to believe that if this variance is granted, that means that there's going to be a deluge of notices of intent for people to put 2 parking spaces, all over the town. That's not what happens. Precedent is is not created here. It's a case-by-case basis, as the members know, and I think as the chair knows. And I look at this test as the old avoid, minimize, mitigate test. I think members of the board, we've attempted to avoid having impacts. We have made changes in order to reduce impacts. We've minimized them. And we've also provided substantial mitigation, more than 2 to 1, as Tom has explained. So I understand that this is a difficult vote for the board, but I also believe that we've spent as much time as we could to make sure that the impacts are lessened by the design. Last thing I'll say is I was under the impression that Jamie had a copy of the decision from the guidance from the town council. I will say to her, if she didn't read it, she certainly parroted what it said, which is clearly, as she surmised, there was no recommendation that the variance be granted in that letter. It stated that we made a great start and we had met the test on a preliminary basis, and those things would be fleshed out. And she's also correct that we have never argued that a denial of this would be a taking without compensation. And we've never argued that this is an entitlement. We take the commission's decision to be very difficult, and that's why we believe it's appropriate at this time. So I thank you for your time, Mr. Chair and members of the board.
Yeah, I think I raised the question to town council. Simple question was, the bylaw allows up to 324 square feet, and the proposal had proposed 466 square feet. And would that be allowable under the bylaw without the granting of a variance? And the answer was no, but it would require a variance. That's the sum basis, and that was guidance for the commission. It was a legal opinion for the commission. Document is available, can be secured by a FOIA request, or we can try to get it over to you. But I'm comfortable with the content, and the commission is comfortable with the understanding guidance from the town council. In polling all the members, and correct me if I'm wrong, members, that there's no request for additional information or plan amendment or adding additional content to this project. Is that correct, Mary? You have no further requests?
Yeah, the only thing I might suggest is that we mark up this plan showing an area that is, it contains the 320 square feet. You know, how much of this hatched area would comprise 320 square feet? So that we can actually see where the overage is occurring, which I assume is the turnaround area. That it's right there. Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah, and you can actually see the center between two parking
Right.
spaces.
Yep.
And then the other mitigation I failed to mention is we are adding stormwater management, which obviously isn't required for a single family home.
Just the infiltrate the stone trench along the side.
Right,
Yep.
right.
Okay, thank you. That's helpful.
Okay.
That's the only other information that was
Okay.
necessary.
Woody, do you have any further comments on this?
No further comments, Bob. Thank you.
Okay. Brad, any additional information or plan amendments or any
Good.
additional content?
Oh, good, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Okay. Mick, is there anything else you'd like to see included or anything that's missing?
No further information from me, no additional questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Mick. Diane, how about yourself? Do you
Nope.
Okay, and I don't have any additional requests for documents. I will entertain a motion to close this public hearing.
So moved.
Second,
Okay, so Brad, you moved and Diane, you seconded it.
I did.
Okay. All right, roll call vote, all in favor, Mary,
Yes.
Woody,
Yes.
Brad,
Aye.
Mick.
Aye.
Diane,
Yes.
and Bob Connors votes yes. So team, we have two options. We have 21 days to deliberate on this, which gives us our next meeting. Or we can entertain a motion to proceed. And I think Mary's counsel on closing the public hearing and processing this and address it at our next meeting is a very lucid one. But what's the pleasure of the commission?
Mr. Chair, I propose that we table this for deliberations at the next meeting.
Okay, is that the consensus of the members? Mary, was your idea? I think it's a good one.
Yes.
Okay.
Lucid once today.
Yeah. Yeah. You know what? It's a milestone closing the public hearing. I think it's
Right.
a credit to the patience of all the members and certainly of the applicant and to Jamie. Woody, any objection to addressing this deliberating within the 21 days?
No, what's proposed by Mary and by Brad, it sounds good.
Okay. Mick, any further comments? You comfortable?
Oh, I'm comfortable with continuing deliberation next meeting.
Okay.
Can
Diane,
the public speak?
We've closed the public hearing.
Yeah, public hearing has closed. Okay, Diane, any further comments?
I just had a question. When you're saying like, so don't vote today, deliberate next week. So that's open meeting, public deliberation.
It would be at our next scheduled meeting.
Pros and cons.
We would
Online,
just,
right up here.
we would be able to continue deliberation on the variance, on the proposal and any special conditions that we may entertain.
Okay. I'm good.
Okay. All right, so Sean, we'll put this on the agenda for the March 19th open meeting. that meeting. And Sean, do you have, if you could get Jamie a copy of that document? If you don't, I'll make sure we forward a copy of it to you.
Thank you very much. And please, to be clear, I have the original one. What I don't have is the one referred to in Mr. Hughes's letter that says it was a letter dated December 6th that Chip Nyland referred to as one that I seem to have intuited a lot of what it said, but I don't have that second one. And thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Jamie.
Because I don't get to speak again, thank you all for your professional attention. Much appreciated.
Okay, thank you. Okay, well, team, that concludes our public sector tonight.
And thank you, Chair and members.
Okay,
Have a great night.
thank you. All right, team. Under administration, Sean, welcome. Your baptism by fire here at the Newbury Conservation Commission. And do you have any staff reports or updates? You had mentioned earlier, Sean, that you had received some communication from trustees of reservation on a update on the wetland mitigation.
I have, so I was sent from Mary that there's 2 reports, phase 1 and phase 2. I will send those in link to the Dropbox that those are in. That's all I have from that. And I was sent an email. Can I get into the next item?
Yeah, certainly.
Okay, I was sent an email from Tom Hughes about sand, impacts of sand, or trying to find it here.
Oh, I recall that Tom had sent a communication team that on the beach nourishment underway in Salisbury, that the sand being provided had an outdated sieve analysis and the sand itself had changed. The coarseness was fine, but the fines within it were increased. And it was more an FYI that on future sand nourishment matters, that a current sieve analysis of the materials being proposed to be provided by, in this case, I think it was Bentley Warren.
Yes, it's Bentley Warren, that they no longer provide a reliable source for the grain sizes that the town is used to for the Perbsby sand.
Yep.
And that sand analysis should be done before allowing.
Hey, team,
We forgot a hearing, yeah.
I apologize. I got so consumed with 333rd Street that poor Ryan Kelly's got his hands
Oh,
up.
sorry, 6 March.
Yes. Okay.
Yes.
Ryan, apologies. We haven't totally forgotten about you. So team, we have a DEP file number 0501421, 6 Marsh Meadow Lane for work to construct a 2-family dwelling with a septic system and utilities. Team, if you remember, this was the original order of conditions. Unfortunately, it was there was a request for an extension, and it didn't make the 3-year cutoff. There was no tolling under COVID, and the applicant submitted, and we issued a certificate of compliance for that matter to close out the original order of conditions. That matter, the filing has been resubmitted, has a file number. There were no technical comments on the submittal from the DEP portal. And Ryan, I hope that I've covered what you've done here. If you want to add something to it, it's up to you.
Sure, yeah, and Bob Grasso from ELS is here
Oh,
representing. But yes, we thank you, everybody. Hopefully this is going to be the easiest part of your night, and we've been here before, and we are literally just trying to basically update and resubmit so we can actually get this project going.
Okay, so team, let me open this up to members for questions. I think we all remember this. Mary, do you have any follow-up questions on this or any other?
Well, I think that maybe there are some members who weren't here when the original order was approved and aren't familiar with the project.
Okay, good point. All right, well,
So I don't know if we, they would like to see it. It's a significant project with new construction, so if they want to schedule a site visit or anything to understand the project. I vaguely remember it. I would like a little refresher on too, and maybe we can
okay.
go through the plan quickly as well.
Okay, Bob Grasso, why don't you give us an overview
Sure.
of the project?
I am Bob
Thank you.
Grasso representing Split Rock. And the site is located at 6 Marshmeadow Lane. As you said before, this is a refiling of a notice of intent that had expired the order conditions. The project basically has not changed. The erosion control was installed under the expired NOI, and it is still in place. There has been some regrading. We've been doing exploring we have encountered a lot of ledge on the site. So we've been going back and forth with the architect, trying to make the house fit with the landscaping for price wise and for functionality. We've adjusted the driveway just very minimum. We've raised the elevation of the dwelling by about 2 or 3 feet to encounter for the ledge that we encountered when we scraped the loom off. We're still proposing a public water supply off of the common driveway. There is a water shut off there. We're proposing a water service located in the front right side of the dwelling. If you want to, I remember the members that when we did a site walk, I believe that Mary Remember was the only one I remember. That was at the site walk. I mean, I see all new names. So if you want to do a site walk, that's fine. We can explain, on-site conditions.
Bob, do you have a plan, a site plan you could just share with us?
Sure. Yeah, sure. We can have this. Can you see that?
We see your
We see your menu.
loaded. Yeah, it hasn't loaded yet.
Okay. Stop sharing. Okay. How's that one? Can you see that at all, or pull it?
Now we can.
Here it is.
Yep.
How's that? So the
Good.
original driveway hasn't changed. The parking stalls haven't changed. It's basically the building size. It was more of a rectangular building that was proposed before. It's more of a modern style, artistic. It's for artists to. It's a very unique building. Let's put it that way. So we like I said, the erosion control is still in place from the original NOI. We've done some grading here. We scraped out this ledge up in here. The site's been some of the timber has been removed in this area. So I believe a site walk will answer all your questions. The septic system down here has been staked out. That's just a little bit of clearing right there that needs to be done. And just the grading. We're just proposing like a walkout basement in the back with some little landscape retaining walls right here with a proposed grass swale to catch any runoff going from the abutting site down into and recharge the groundwater in the wetlands located in that blue line right here. Those flags are still up from the old NOI. So really there's no really grade changing. It's just we've been exploring how much ledge has been out there.
Okay. Bob, why don't I hold there and see if there's any questions from the members?
Sure.
Okay. Mary, do you vaguely remember this one as you were the only
I
surviving
kind of
member?
remember it. I think it was kind of right when I was first starting on the board. It looks like a lot of pavement for a 2-family, a lot of parking spaces. Is that
Well, because they're gonna have some material coming in there. There's a 2-bay, 3-bay garage right here.
Uh-huh.
But they deal with like steel structures, like they're artistic sculptures. It's more of an artistic building.
Is it a commercial building?
No,
Nope.
it's no.
Okay,
It's just a place for people to do, what they do.
okay. Yeah, just 9 parking spaces. It looks more than typical
That
required.
was what was proposed before, and that was
Okay.
approved.
It's a two-family house, as I recall.
Yes,
correct?
yes, it
Yep.
is.
Okay.
Yes. It's not commercial, so it's residential. It's a 2-family dwelling.
Got it. I'm all set for now.
Okay, I'll
thank you.
circle back to Mary. Woody, any questions for Bob on this one?
Bob, you're basically saying it's with what Mary was saying with the proposed drive being big. It's a two-family house with a studio space for the homeowners to enjoy,
Yes,
correct?
yes.
Okay. And as far as a site walk, I was unaware that almost everyone on the board has seen this before. So as far as the site walk, for me, I guess it would be helpful. Even though I am familiar with the area, I haven't been where this is. So site walk, Bob, would be helpful, I guess. Thank you.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you, Woody. Brad, any questions for Bob or Ryan on this one?
No, guys, thank you. But I agree with Woody. The sidewalk would be helpful. Thank you.
Okay, Mick, any questions or comments on this?
No, no, I'm a boots on the ground person, so I'll
Yep.
hold my questions until I can, get an eye on it and have a
Okay.
sidewalk.
Thank you, Mick. Diane, how about yourself? Any questions at this time?
Nope.
Okay, I do not have any questions. Sean, are there any raised hands from the public at this time?
No.
Okay,
And DEP did not have any comments on this also.
right, there was no
on the-
technical
on
comments.
the refiling.
On the refiling. All right, so I'm gonna be a little redundant here. I already know the answer. Do any members have a request for a site visit? Additional information or plan amendment or adding any additional content to this notice? And we're going to schedule a site visit. And I think that makes good sense. When do we want to schedule a site visit? I'm going to be out of pocket all next week, but I'm actually very familiar with this, with the site and with the neighborhood. But what was this, when did we do the site visit? What did we schedule for a site visit already tonight, Sean?
8:30 on the 12th.
Yep.
It's just Tuesday.
Is it
At
something
4
we may
Johnson
wanna
Lane.
do we want to piggyback this on that day?
As long as it's
Or-
not raining.
Can we do this at 8?
I
Not
think,
enough time.
I think this is a bigger site,
Okay,
and since it is cut out, it is bare. Or barren.
you'll notice a lot of ledge outcroppings here, gang.
Okay.
If,
then we could do it at 9. I guess, I don't think Johnson Lane would take too long. That's a septic.
Yep.
Repair.
So does 9 o'clock on the 12th work for the majority of the members?
Yeah,
It's
the
fine.
12th doesn't work for me in the morning,
Yep, no, it doesn't work for me either.
but I can defer to everyone else looking at it.
Okay,
Works
could
for
do
me, Bob, and I
evening.
think it works
Okay.
for me, Bob, and I think we should probably piggyback it on the 12th. That's my
Okay.
opinion.
all right, so why don't we schedule a site visit for March 12th at 9 o'clock for 6 Marshmallow Lane. So the applicant would like to request a continuance to our March 19th meeting.
Yes, I'd like to request that, please.
Okay. Is there a motion to continue the public hearing at the applicant's request to our March 19th meeting?
So moved.
So, second,
Okay, so Brad and Diane. I'm doing that for poor Sean, who doesn't recognize all of our votes. I'm trying to
Yeah,
save him.
sorry, so who was second? Diane?
Yeah,
I
Brad.
was second.
Okay,
I made the
Diane.
motion, Diane.
Thank you.
Seconded the motion, Sean. Okay. Roll call vote to continue the public hearing. All in favor? Mary?
Yes.
Woody?
Yes.
Brad?
Aye.
Nick?
Aye.
Diane?
Yes.
And Bob Connors votes yes. All right, team.
May I say one thing, Bob?
Yeah,
Sure.
absolutely. Yeah.
Just yeah, hi all the new people. That let me know, or that email or that time works for me to do a site walk. Just for the record, the only thing that has changed from this application to the first one that was approved that we submitted is the shape of the building. There is nothing else that is different. The intended use of the building is not different. The parking lot is not different. The driveway is not different. The only thing that has changed is the shape of the building. And as Bob mentioned, the building has gone up because we've spent a lot of time trying to figure out how to work and be as least impactful to the site as possible with the ledge that is there. So I appreciate just understanding that.
And Ryan, can you talk about your construction schedule, anticipated schedule?
Last year.
Okay.
Yeah.
We were hoping that this was going to be settled. We are also waiting for some stuff from the engineers for the foundation, which, as you can imagine, may be very difficult with this site. We are intending to start building literally as soon as possible because that is when the builder would like to start to get paid for all the work that we've done over the winter.
Yeah, okay.
Very good.
Thanks.
All right, thank you, team. All
Thank
right,
you all.
so back to the administration section. Sean, any other matters you want to discuss?
That's it for now. So we covered the sand and those.
Thank you for your time.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you, Bob. What I'm going to suggest, team, is maybe not at our next meeting, but on administration, I think it would be prudent on our part to develop a continuing meetings, a guideline. A lot of different towns have them. I think we could do a little bit of research, but I think in fairness to applicants, abutters, and to the time of commission and consultants, having a little more of a guidance document on when does it trigger re-advertising or re-notifying the abutters? Some towns do it as if you have 4 continuances that are not at the request for additional documentation, the applicant must then refile, not refile, but re-advertise and re-notify the abutters. So I think we just went through, we've probably had what, a dozen times that this has been continued, and I think that it's better utilization of time, but we're still trying to accommodate our community. But it does come a point in time that how many times is a butter or a party of concern going to prepare for a hearing, and then it's continue. So just food for thought, but I think it may be helpful to have some sort of a policy, a guidance document, guideline, whatever you want to call it. Sean, what I'd ask you to do is, can you reach out to some of your counterparts and see what they do on, if they have a policy on that? Sometimes it's just easier seeing what other communities have done. Mary, how about yourself? What experience?
Yeah, I think there's some posted on some of the local Ipswich might have one. Yeah, it shouldn't be hard to track down. So
okay, you think it's a worthwhile endeavor though to have?
Yeah, no, I think it's a good idea if a project is failing to proceed, and it should be, yeah, it should be a certain number of continuances before it needs to be re-advertised, I think, and be notified. Yep, definitely.
Okay. All right, Mr. Duffin.
I agree.
CSOs, what's the gallonage? Do we have an update on gallonage?
It is a record. It is the most gallonage had been emitted into the river in history. I don't have the exact figure, but it was interesting. I read an article in the Globe how the DEP and EPA are now starting to come down on some of the northerly contributors to the CSO problem, as well as some of the southerly ones too. So a lot remains to be seen on enforcement and how this whole thing continues to evolve. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
All right, team, why don't we go around to the members? Mary, any final comments you'd like to offer?
No, just, Sean, feel free to reach out if you have questions or comments. I'm in the biz too, so.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think, Sean, you see how we rely on Mary during our meetings here. And,
I know, I've heard.
She has big shoulders. She has big shoulders, so.
Yes, she does.
Woody,
I
any,
was gonna ask how Mary voted on Marsh Meadows if we were gonna vote on that today. How did she previously vote?
Ah,
uh,
oh.
So we didn't vote on
Can't
it.
tell
so-
you.
yeah,
The secret.
you'll have to do a FOIA request for that kind of information. Woody, any final thoughts, or comments?
Productive meeting. Thank you, Sean. And we'll see how things go for the sidewalks and see how things go at our next meeting.
No, I think we did a good job in addressing the open issues, and we closed a public hearing. I think everyone gets.
No, the public hearing.
The public hearing, right?
It's monumental, monumental. Brad, any comments or final words?
No, I'm good. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, Mick, how about you?
No, Sean, great to have you. I'm gonna ask one favor of you. If you could just send out an email reminder for our site visits on the 12th.
Yeah.
Yep, I was gonna
Computer off. I'll forget what date it was.
remind
so.
that right before we close. Okay.
Poor Sean has been operating on his own. I've been out of state for the last 2 weeks, and he and I'll get together and we'll have it laid out just the way we should, what we're used to. So, but John's been doing a great job. Diane, any final comments you want to offer?
No, I like the Dropbox. If you did that, Sean, or whoever did it, that had all of
Link,
the
yep.
files in like one folder for today. I thought that was good because we
good.
did. I like that.
You're welcome.
Right. Okay, the only comment I have is there a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Yes. Second.
Okay, all those in favor, Mary,
Yes.
Woody, Brad.
Yes.
Mick,
Aye.
and
Aye.
Bob Connors.
Good night.
Thank you,
Yes.
thank you, everyone.
night.
Bob.
Thank you.
Bye.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night, Sean.